everyone, this is Ken from Ion Radio, and with me today is a special guest. I have Garrett on the channel with me, and most of you probably know him as Admiral Tater from Admiral Tater's Ship Shop. Garrett, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So one of the reasons, we've got a couple of reasons that you're on the show today, but for those of our listeners and viewers that don't really know about Admiral Tater's Ship Shop, what can you tell us about basically what you do?
Absolutely. So Admiral Tater Ship Shop is I make acrylic, primarily acrylic accessories from laser cutting and engraving and painting for primarily my favorite game, Star Wars Armada. But then I also make stuff for, second edition X-Wing as well as Legion and Legion's my smallest one, but the one that I need to get the biggest going. But Armada is primarily what I do. And I make anything from simple rulers for beginner players all the way to a just immense plethora of upgraded acrylics for players who are real serious about Armada and want to make their games really special.
You have a couple, I think, tournament boxes as well, right?
That's correct. So last year, this week, actually, I launched what I call the Tater Tournament Solution. And it was a joint effort between a couple ideas from players here in the U.S. And in Canada. I always want to shout out to Brandon McLeod from the old Galactic Conflict podcast. But the Mercury Command guys down in Texas with Alan Stelly, and then here locally, a player named Nick Griffiths really motivated me too at Gen Con one year, 2019, I think. And basically it's you can put all your cards and stuff on a magnetic tray and tokens, and they stack up real neatly. And then they go on top of this tournament box that was designed to store I make a template tray to hold our acrylic rulers that slides in there. And then it's spaced in a way to like fit battle foam or felt hair foam trays nicely. And it was just a neat, epic, our Armada tournament solution to fit our big trays and stuff. So our big ships. But that is my biggest and my favorite product I've ever made, just because it was such an immense effort. And I'm always improving it too. In fact, I just changed the design some to make it better recently. We can talk about that later if you want. But yeah, so.
How long have you been doing this? Because I know for quite a bit of time that I've been in Armada that you've been kind of like the name brand in acrylic accessories.
Yes. So in 2018, I guess soft started. I had put up some 3D printed card trays. There had been some on Thingiverse that were okay, but they just didn't, like, the idea of it was good, but the dimensions and the size, and it didn't work for me. So I printed off my own and threw them up on Etsy, and I had a couple sales, and I was like, well, let's see where this can go. And then in April of 2019, I had saved up enough from the 3D printing to purchase a laser engraver. And that's when I made my first set of rulers. And so I would say April 2019 is when things got real serious, because I had what I thought was a really nice pair of rulers out, and everyone else thought so too. So I'll call that the official. So, it's like it's 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. So, which is pretty incredible to think back on. Time flies fast.
It really does. We just passed up our 2-year anniversary here at the channel, and it seems like we just started maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
That's time for you though, right?
It's absolutely. The longer it goes, the faster it goes.
So it seems like you kind of got started in making all your acrylics mostly out of your own kind of need for better parts and better components.
Yeah, that's correct. So really what happened, the catalyst, we could say, I went to a store championship in August of 2018. That was the first time I've ever played a game in a store and really understood what a game store was. Mm-hmm. And, it was really cool. I don't know if you remember, one of the prize supports back then was a mini set of white defense tokens, and they were just the really odd size defense tokens.
Yeah, I do remember those. Yeah.
So I saw that and I was like, oh, that's that's pretty cool. And I went home, and, when you first get into anything like Armada, you're like, oh, well, I got to have all of it now. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're looking for the expansions. And then, once you run out of expansions to buy that are in stock, I started looking at accessories. And the first thing I noticed was there was none, basically, for Armada. I would search for it, and all that would come up, especially at that time, because I don't even think Legion was out, maybe just started, was just X-Wing. And there was just X-Wing after X-Wing after X-Wing. And I wasn't too hot on that game. So I was like, well, I can't get these. And so I went onto eBay, and I'm always salty about this, but I had bought somebody's like 2017 or 18 Nova rulers, like championship rulers. And I got them in the mail, and I had paid I think $85 for them. And so, I started, everyone always compares it to the carbon ruler, and I didn't know much about rulers at that point. So I got them out, and I mean, these rulers didn't even line up to each other. Like the close ruler to the close on the long ruler was not even correct. So it was they were just a hot mess, which I've later learned that pretty much every official set of rulers is a hot mess. So, I resold them on eBay to somebody else. And from that point forward, I was like, well, maybe I can make some Armada accessories. And so that's really what I did. I started slow, and I still go slow. I'm a very risk adverse person. So with Taurus and the hare, I'm definitely the tortoise when it comes to things like this.
Well, you might be the tortoise, Garrett, but you definitely seem to have cornered the market
thanks. That was one of the motivations. Like, wow, there's nobody selling any of this stuff. There were some people who made 3D printed terrain, like asteroids and stuff, and some basic ship trays. But as far as everything else, it was just kind of wide open. So I was like, well, okay, this seems like a good place to dip in.
So you had mentioned that you kind of got into Armada, and then you went nuts and getting all the expansions, and then that got you into the accessories. Mm-hmm. So let's even go a step before, the genesis of Admiral Tater. What got you into Star Wars Armada?
Oh yeah. Well, so a lot of Armada players, right? I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, have been since, my sister had haphazardly picked up the 1997 VHS special edition of the original trilogy. I had no idea what Star Wars was, right? And I popped that movie in and was just absolutely mind-blowing, right? So, and then, from then on, I was always huge into Star Wars. And in 2016, I had seen on Amazon the Armada core box. And I was like, wow, are those Star Wars ships? I got to have it. So I bought it. But in the time I was in college in electrical engineering, and so I was super busy. And so I purchased it, didn't touch it for a year. Got it open, and I didn't understand, or I didn't know. It's not that I didn't understand. I just didn't know that there was a plethora of other expansions. And so me and my friend played the core set together, and we're like, well, this is really neat, but kind of lame, because it was just a victory and a couple ships. I was like, the idea is cool, but I just put it away again for another year. And then when I finally graduated, I started looking around for things to do, because all of a sudden I had a ton of free time, which I've successfully gotten rid of. And, that was it. And I found a store championship locally with a couple guys, and I was hooked. I got absolutely obliterated. It was my first real game. So, but they were nice, and it was only 3 of us, and it was just a good place to start. So
your first steps into a larger world, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Tabletop gaming in general. I was just mind blowing, at the things that were available in the store. I was like, how did I not realize this stuff existed? So it's pretty surprising.
So it wasn't just an introduction to Star Wars Armada, but to tabletop gaming in general then?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess where I grew up in a really small town in Idaho, and there wasn't a game store. And then in high school, I moved down south in Idaho, and there wasn't really, I guess market wise, I think in 2010, things really started to change for like the tabletop gaming world because of social media and the internet. But before that, it was really niche. And so I didn't know about it. I knew about things you'd see at the shelf at like Walmart. Like I had like the Star Wars pocket model game. I don't know if you remember that.
I've got a bunch of it somewhere in here. But.
Yeah, I sold to somebody back in high school, but I was addicted to collecting those things. But yeah, and so I walked in, I was like, this stuff is crazy. And I knew Warhammer existed because that's pretty pop culturally, but I never had I've never been interested in what was going on with it. But once I started seeing all the Star Wars stuff, I was just like, was it like where has this been all my life? Probably would have lost a lot more money in high school buying stuff like that if I had known about it. But I'm making up for lost time now.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of us are. I mean, I remember when I was a lot younger, the big thing, of course, then I grew up back when the original trilogy was still in theaters. And the big thing then was, hey, I want some stormtroopers for all my rebels to fight against, right?
Right.
I had 3. And
yeah.
I think I've made up for it now between the Wizards of the Coast and Star Wars Legion. I now have, divisions of stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And what I love about Armada is now I've got Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters and everything else in mass quantity. And that's kind of fun. Well, that's, for me personally, Armada, I think is, of all the Star Wars games, probably my favorite because it's the big capital ships. And it reminds me of the end of Return of the Jedi and actually Rogue One also. I think those two just put Armada into a movie form.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure Empire at War, the video game from like 2006. I used to love that. I still actually play it, but that was a direct connection because the fleet battles is like probably the best part of Star Wars in my opinion. It's just so well done. I mean, I don't know how those guys and those sculptors in the 70s like came up with just ingenious, iconic designs. Modern movie makers must be so jealous. They just cannot top that, with all the technology we have now. Nothing is like, recently seen the movie Dune. Like that's a good movie, but like the ships are cool, but like they're not Star Destroyers. They're just giant. They just can't top it. It's remarkable to me.
I wonder how much of that is physical models versus virtual models.
I've thought about that. And then of course there's the argument of design iteration, right? So it's hard to not be inspired by what came before, but you don't want to copy it. But these guys had nothing. Ralph McQuarrie was basing it on, late 60s, early 70s sci-fi movies and then like melding it with World War II battleships.
Yeah, pretty much.
It just birthed the perfect ship for the imagination.
So let's get to one of the big reasons that we've got you on today and we're talking. That's you created a special set of rulers and some defense token trays for John and myself here on Ion Radio. I'm going to put up a couple pictures right now for all of our viewers to kind of see them. Can you talk to me about, I know we had a little bit of a collaboration there when we first approached you. What was your thoughts on your creative process in creating those range rulers and the defense token trays?
Okay, so the range rulers, it's not incredibly complicated. You're just, I want this logo on this ruler. I'm like, okay. A lot of things that get sent to me like that don't always translate well when I'm trying to engrave it. So yeah, like yours, it has very thin lines when it's very small. So I had to modify it to look correct. Like you would know it's different at that scale, but I'm just making it look good. Obviously, as you'll see, the white with black paint is definitely my favorite version of it. And then the black with white also looks good. But it's pretty straightforward. I've got the ruler thing pretty down pat.
Right.
So whenever I need to apply something unique to them, the only challenge is making sure, that looks as good as the actual, rest of the ruler. So there's not some mismatch. And then the same thing with the defense token trays. it's a lot of the things I make are always birthed from people asking me, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
And because every player is very different and how they want to approach, how they, conduct this game. And, you pitch the idea, I just want to store the defense tokens. And in my head, I'm like, why wouldn't you want to store everything under the moon at once? And you're like, no, just the defense tokens. I was like,
right.
All right. So, and then the most important thing is, you're trying to film something and you've got, the Ion Radio brand. So let's make sure that, we get this big Ion Radio symbol on there so they know what the heck's going on. And, but also slim it down so it, features that defense token. So it's easy to see on camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's instantly recognizable. Like, hey, this is what's going on. Which, is a lot of people when they're watching something, if you notice it, or if you don't notice it, but still see it, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to awkwardly look at, haphazardly throwing about tokens. Like you can't tell clearly what's going on in the battle report, which is a lot of what's wrong with a lot of battle reports I've watched over time. Is it's just, I just don't know what's going on. I lose interest pretty fast because I'm just like, oh, what are we doing here? Like I could just go play my own game if I wanted to, but yeah, I mean, so really it's just like, how do we make your brand like the centerpiece of whatever we're doing here? And then in taking your idea, especially like the defense token thing, I mean, it was exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
And then there's always somebody else who also is like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted, but they could never translate. That's what they want from the brain. So I'm glad we got to get it done. And it's just a simple idea that looks clean.
Oh, it really does. I have actually two of them, and I showed them up on the screen, but I'm going to kind of hold them up, side by side for everyone to kind of see. But we have them in a couple different sizes that we asked for. So this is the 4 size, and we have one in a 6 and one in a 2. And, they work great for whether it's flotillas or for squadrons. And of course, occasionally you've got a Superstar Destroyer or a Starhawk and you need more than 4. And they just work great. So all of the of our followers and subscribers to our channel, we're going to be seeing that exclusively starting in season 3. So that's just a week or so away, or maybe it already started depending on when I release this video. But now here's kind of one of the neat things. Ion Radio has decided to do an exclusive agreement with Admiral Tater's Ship Shop, where you can now get all of your range rulers and the other oddball items for Armada, including, I think we talked about the little squadron place markers and stuff like that with the Ion Radio logo. And the only place you can get that is through Admiral Tater's Ship Shop. And I think one of the other things we can also do is, since I think the defense token trays work remarkably well for me, that's something you guys can now get from Admiral Tater's as well. And sure, you can get that with the Ion Radio logo as well.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited about it too. We're going to have obviously the rulers and the defense token trays. And we had discussed, making, more exclusive things that could, we're going to make some products that are only available with the Ion Radio logo. So I'm excited when we figure out some of those things, so that's, especially stuff you see on the, the battle reports or whatever. It's always fun to mimic it in your games too. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be cool. The Ion Radio logo looks sick. So I think it just, especially when it gets really big on those the trays, and that's how it look on the squadron markers too. Which all 3 of those things are, for any beginners of Armada out there, if you're looking for things to make your game better, rulers and squadron markers and trays just to organize your token mess, I would say almost essential to playing this game in any way that's efficient or even fun. I think the rulers make the game more fun because it's just a mess trying to measure everything with a single cardboard double-sided ruler. That's just my opinion, but most people's opinion
too. And break too.
Oh yeah, they're just a hot mess.
And then you always lose yours or trade it with someone else, and you get a good set of your acrylic rulers. And I mean, man, you're not going to let those go.
No, yeah, you're done. And they're not going to unless you do something gravely mistaken with them, you know, they're going to last forever. They're plexiglass, and so they're hard, and they're solid, and they, you know, they're not. I mean, that's it. I mean, they're both supposed to be a permanent solution.
Mm-hmm. And you've got it available in a range of different fonts and everything else, which allows you to really customize some of this. I know when we were developing ours, we went back and forth a couple times with, you know, colors and the font that was used. I know there was 1 or 2 iterations with the logo in terms of sizing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what I can say is, Garrett, the work that you did on this, it's outstanding.
Thank
John
you.
and I both really love it. These are going to be permanent fixtures on our battle reports. And I know that I will be, next time I get to one of my local stores for playing games, I'll have a whole set with me to play on the table there as well.
Excellent. Yeah. And I should also say, like, you know, if people want to get the rulers, and then I should also make the cases. We can get a big ion radio symbol on those big template tray cases. That would look pretty cool. Just, you know, I don't know, ion radio, and then like Team Ion or something written on the bottom right, or however somebody wants to personalize them with their names or something. So,
well, that'll be great. I'm looking forward to see what some of the interesting ideas that people would love to see on those moving forward, because that to me is just kind of interesting. So many different people in the world, and there's so many different ideas out there. And I think it's great that we can see some of it realized through your shop.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I think it'll be cool. So, especially, I mean, it's cool always seeing like something you make, like your logo, and people are like, oh yeah, I want that. That's cool.
Oh yeah, it's neat. You know, you like, I've got it on my coffee cup here.
Yeah, exactly.
But now to see it realized on, you know, your rulers and whatnot, it to me, that's just cool.
Yeah.
And it's fun also. And actually what's kind of neat is a lot of this you could easily do for, and I know we were talking a little bit off camera about this, but things for like tournament play, like prizes and things like that. Not necessarily the Ion Radio logo, but just like get a tournament kit for a major prize support.
One of the glaring voids of Armada right now is official organized play. And this, I hope, gets corrected in the coming 6 months in 2022.
Yeah.
I know Legion, they're having their OP kits trickling out, and I'm hoping X-Wing and Armada also gets to benefit from whatever's happening at AMG there. But this last year and a half, I can't believe it's been so long now. People have been running tournaments monthly, quarterly, at their own stores and regions. And I know Frontline Gaming has done a lot to keep things going themselves with the Las Vegas Open, SoCal Open, and all those different tournaments. But for local store champs and, you know, just your regional play that you want to keep going, I'm always open. If you want to make a prize kit, just let me know. And I try and be extremely fair, because I know these prizes are important to getting people to come out and play. It just makes things more competitive and fun. But please always reach out. It always depends on the size from what I recommend and how new the players are for what kind of prizes you want to do. You know, some players are going to be happy with some rulers, but a lot of places, everyone's got rulers. So you're going to want something different, unique. But always just reach out. I do prize kits all the time to keep these little communities moving forward. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that, like, please approach me. I'm not going to try and charge you, you know, $10,000 to like do your store championship. You know, I'm going to make it reasonable and make it so it's unique. Pretty much every store championship custom engraving I do, I always do for free. Because, you know, if we want to put, you know, Dragon Layers store champ 2021, I just do that because it's important for you guys. It's important for our Armada community. And I just want to keep us moving forward so we don't get bogged down and left behind. And so it's just up to you guys to make these tournaments and organize them. That's a lot of work. But I want to make sure I can help and support in doing that.
Well, I'm going to sit there, and Garrett, and I'm going to say one day when there actually is an Ion Radio open, John and I have mentioned it in various different forms. So when we get back to more normal, Whenever that comes, we'll be reaching out and asking you for a couple things ourselves. And we'll make sure that's something pretty unique. And we'll see. Maybe we'll get some insight in 6 months or so after most of the pandemic has subsided and we're all back together again playing games in mass quantity. So speaking of all the tournament support and things like that, I know locally for John and myself here in the Chicagoland area, Armada is still going fairly strong. I know the one local store I go to generally has anywhere between 6 to 12 people, depending on the day. A bunch going on during the week as well. How's Armada over by you?
So Armada here is the strongest it has ever been since I played. If I want to, I can meet every week for multiple games, which is something I couldn't say even a year ago, which is phenomenal. So, but like overall, I think Armada is really strong. I'm not going to say it's as big as Legion, right? Because Legion is the 4th biggest game in the world, or 3rd biggest right now. But I have my little statistics. I like statistics. So a good state of like where Armada is being played is like how many places I ship things to. Okay. And so like the top 5 states in the United States that Armada's, obviously being played by hundreds of people is Illinois, California, obviously, Texas, Washington, out where, Karnick and them are. And then Michigan is huge too. And then internationally, Canada has a huge Armada following. Australia is massive. I think Fly Casual, they just got done with a big TTS tournament.
They did.
I got to get their prize support in the mail. Germany is huge, and the United Kingdom, and then surprisingly Austria has a big following, which I'm always surprised when I get orders from like the Czech Republic or Greece, and it's like, oh, I just never think about lots of people playing Armada there. But yeah, so I think, and especially what's it called, when AMG did their post back in August and everyone had their, I call it our annual Armada is dead meltdown, because this game has been dead since I started playing apparently. But
every once in a while someone
and I think it's so funny. I don't know, it's just funny to me because no, it's not. Like there's more expansions and factions than ever. But anyways, I think I have a really good different perspective, because people always see online and people forget that most of the people buying and playing Armada aren't on the Facebook group, aren't on the Reddit group, aren't on the Discords. And a lot of people they're not into the competitive play. They're at home with, their 50 Star Destroyers and playing Armada with their, brothers and, local, family. So, this game's, it's complete except for like the remaining expansions for the Clone Wars.
Good full wave really would, I think, round out the Clone Wars. Yeah,
it's so balanced, and you can take anything and play anywhere, anytime. And I just, we don't have our usual rules problems like X-Wing is currently experiencing. And I think people get really caught up in the, monthly or quarterly expansions. Like Legion has always got something coming out, which is cool. And I think new stuff is awesome too. But I think people forget there's value in just having a solid game that we can reliably go play without constant point confusion. And things can always be improved, but man, this game is it's in such a good place. Will every faction and every ship place first at Worlds? No. That's not reasonable to think. But when we're together and we're playing these games, it's just fun. It's Star Wars. It's aesthetic. It's atmosphere. It's everything you want it to be when you're looking at the Star Destroyer on the table.
and you can and you hit the point right there. Is, you know, you're sitting there at whether it's the kitchen table or your local store, and I remember probably about 4 years ago when a lot of the expansions were still coming out. I think Corellian Conflict had just been released at that time, and I got to put a couple Star Destroyers on the table, and everyone walking in that store was walking by, and they just kept looking as they're walking by, like, that's cool. I need to know more about this.
Yeah. And I always like it when I'm in a store playing games and, you know, a family will come in with kids, and the kids, I mean, they're always looking at our table.
Yeah.
You know, they're not looking at BattleTech's table. Okay. They're looking at the table with the ships on it. So no hate on BattleTech, but, you know, it's Star Wars. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's going to win.
It unfortunately it does. You know, I'm a big BattleTech fan. But yeah, if I were going to put both Armada and BattleTech out on the table, odds are I'm going to get someone to play Armada, not necessarily BattleTech. Now, having said that, you get more of the crowd that's my age, and yeah, we're going to probably do more BattleTech because we like filling in the little bubbles. I mean, it must be all the Scantrons that we had to do back in grade school. Or
gotta be. It's gotta be. It's gonna be my number 2 pencil.
Yeah, well, you know, see, I still have them. You know, like a number 2 it is. So I can't get away from it. It's just ingrained in my skull. That's funny, actually. So we've talked about Armada in general. Let's do a little mini deep dive. Let's get to know Garrett just a little bit more. Okay. Armada as a game, what is your favorite, whether it's aspect, ship, commander, upgrade card? What would you say is the part about Armada that you really enjoy?
So I think my favorite part, and this is especially coming from somebody who didn't have any tabletop prior experience, was I was able to take these ships that are all the same, you know, ISD2, and you could put 10 ISD2s in a game, and each individual Star Destroyer, based on whatever cards you put on it, is a completely different ship. Yeah. And that goes for every ship in this game. I mean, you can make it do anything you want, be fast and maneuverable, or just bogged down with tricks and just gotcha moments, or just, you know, laden down with, you know, I want to throw 15 dice at the front of this Kuat. And you can do it if you put the right cards and commanders together with it. And that's my favorite part, is just the sheer, what's it called? Variety of what can be done with each ship, which is cool because, you know, when you read old Legends books, especially, you know, every ship is talked about, and every ship has like a unique, you know, ability or personality, and like why they're important to whatever we're doing in this moment. And you can mimic that with Armada really easily. I guess X-Wings and Legion, you can kind of do the same thing, but it just captures my imagination more when I'm throwing, you know, expanded launchers in the front of a Kuat and be like, all right, this thing's going to be a, you know, a concussion missile brawler. And then I can support it with a different Psy Moon 1 Star Destroyer from a distance. And I think that's cool. Honestly, it's just cool.
It's neat. It's one of the parts of the game that took me a while to really get used to, because from my perspective, coming from different areas of wargaming, an ISD2 is an ISD2 is an ISD2. And if you want something different, you're buying a different ship. Right. But in terms of Armada itself, that is kind of one of the neat things you can do, because you really have to pay attention to what your upgrade cards are, your opponent's upgrade cards on their ships, and then try and figure out your plan of how do you deploy and essentially joust against their unique variation of things. And it leaves the door open for tons of really neat gimmick fleets as well. And sometimes those can be a lot of fun to fly. Like you mentioned, sometimes you just get something where you can roll like 18, 30 dice all at once. And that's just fun to do, is roll that much dice. Or other times you get a gimmick. Last season, John had his one episode with the 18 Z95s. Right. And he was able to control all of them in one turn, which was his whole point of the fleet. But it put a great big smile on his face. I think it's one of the best and neatest things about Armada, is you don't have to necessarily win. to have a good time.
Right.
And that's clear because, I still enjoy Armada and have a good time.
Right.
But, it can be an experience, and it's a lot of fun, and it's something that's relatively easy, I think, to get into.
Yes. Yeah. So Armada has this huge difficulty swing from, beginners to absolute professionals who are out there, measuring millimeters and thinking about, they'll be like, all right, well, you deploy your ship 2 inches to the right, so this game's pretty much over. Because they have that insight of where it's going to happen. So, and I also I don't think I wanted to say was like, you can bring very mismatched fleets and it could just go so poorly for you. Yeah. When you bring a fleet and you're like, all right, I'm gonna destroy some capital ships, and this rebel player shows up with a Biggs ball and 5 CR90s, and you just get absolutely shredded to death because you can't do anything about it. There's nothing. You've got no anti-squadron. And they're just plinking you with 2 red dice every turn.
You're just gone so fast. I think there was a Worlds, maybe one of the first ones, where it was a bunch of A-wing squadrons up against the Victory and a bunch of Gladiators, and it just ate through them.
Black non-bomber.
Yeah,
it'll mess you up every time.
It really will. I know John has taken me out quite a few times with some very fancy squadron play.
Yeah.
But again, hey, that's part of the game. That's all the fun. And we enjoy playing it. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. So, all right. Well, hey, Garrett, thank you so much for joining me for this little discussion that we had. And on behalf of John and myself, thank you so much for everything you've done for us here over at Ion Radio. We're really excited to show that to everyone. Starting with season 3, you'll get to see all of Garrett's work on our tables and on the cameras. I'm looking forward to it. Well, I've seen it, but I'm looking forward to everyone else commenting on it. And then stay tuned for all the new things that you can get from Admiral Tater's Ship Shop through you, but with the Ion Radio logo and all the other new things that you're coming up with. And who knows, maybe we will be doing a little bit more on the Legion side with you.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yep, for sure.
All right. So Garrett, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you get in your orders for anything you want to do Christmas-wise now. And until next time, I'm Ken.
And I'm Garrett, Admiral Tater. Thanks, everybody.
And you've been watching Ion Radio.